My name is Alexandra Roethlisberger, and I am the new executive director for Amici Cannis. And I actually met Philip and Heather about 10 years ago when they had just arrived from Ecuador. They had been to Cotacachi and on tourism, and they had fallen in love with Ecuador. And they came back to the US knowing that what they had seen, they couldn't turn their back on. They had loved it. Indeed, if you haven't been to Cotacachi, I urge you to visit. It's a paradise. It's this beautiful valley. There's four peaks, four volcanoes around it. People are lovely. It's just, the weather is always temperate, so it's in the 70s. It's beautiful. But animal welfare is a true concern. There's a lot of indigenous communities in the area. It's highly indigenous, and these people live in systemic poverty. They've never had access to services, not even veterinary services, but any kind of service. They don't have a lot of opportunities to change the way they've lived for years and years. There's not a lot of ways to change, to create generational change. So how my parents and my grandparents did it, that's how I've been doing it, and that's how my kids will do it, type of thing. And so animal welfare is an area that needs a lot of support. And when Philip and Heather came back to the US, they said, this is something that we can help fix, and we want to invest the rest of our life trying to do something for the animals in Ecuador. And they got connected with me. At the time, I was working with an international animal welfare organization, and I was working around the world, and I was helping support and grow the capacity of many, many, many organizations throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. And I started working with Heather and Philip, and they told me about their experience and what they wanted to do. And I started guiding them and providing them support and providing them materials and research, and why do we support this and not so much that, why this is the best route for you to engage on, read all of this, meet all these people. And it's not surprising probably to you, but it was a beautiful thing for me to see that they listened. Out of the hundreds of organizations that I've worked with in the past 20 years, Amici Cannis is one of the organizations that truly listened to advice and changed the course of what they intended to do at the beginning and created something beautiful. And so in the last 10 years, we've stayed in touch. They've told me everything that they've done. I continue to work with an international organization. I connected them with foundations and grants. I was a reference to them. And when it was finally time for me to leave the organization that I was working with, I connected back to Heather. And I wanted to make sure that she would stay connected to the organization I was leaving. And she said, Alex, we're looking for an executive director, and we would love for you to join us. Please interview for the position. And at first, I was leaving a massive, very influential international organization. And I thought, wow, do I want to go work for a smaller organization? And when I started talking to Heather and learning, not that we had been not in touch, but I just, didn't know all the things that they had done, that they had implemented, all the changes. And not only that, but the pandemic really did a number in a lot of groups. They survived the pandemic, they pulled through, and they continued working. And it slowed down a lot of the work international organizations were doing. But 2023 really has been a year of growth for Amici Cannis, not only because they have a lot more support from donors and friends like you guys, but also because everything that they've been preparing for up to this point, which is community engagement and working with the people that live in Cotacachi and going into the communities with their education programs, and all of that has been building to where we are now, which is massive opportunity to expand and grow the programs that we have and be more impactful in more communities than we're working currently. And so when Heather told me about all of this amazing work that they're doing, I thought, what a beautiful opportunity to lead a team that does amazing work already, but that has this passion and hunger for growth and for doing more in more communities and eventually just being more influential. And one of the things that I saw when I went to Ecuador, and that it just really was this decisive moment for me, was that a lot of animal welfare organizations make a really big mistake, which is what doesn't allow them to have the impact that they should be having on the ground. They separate animal welfare from people welfare. It's a clear division. And a lot of people in animal welfare will tell you, I don't like people. I don't like working with people. I want to work with animals. Well, then you shouldn't be in animal welfare at all. Because if you're going to make a difference in the life of animals, you definitely need to learn with and work with people. And you need to be non-judgmental, and you need to be able to lift everyone up at the same time. And it's actually what the World Health Organization is doing right now with the One Health approach is you can't make a difference in environment, in animal welfare, in people welfare or health if you don't really work holistically to make an impact in all of these areas at the same time. And what Amici Cannis is doing is we have a tremendous team that loves, loves, loves working with people, very charismatic. We have Mary, we have Matias that heads our children education program, and they just stand in front of people, stand in front of children, and they love teaching. And then the children come at the end and just give them hugs, which here in the US, you have to just get your hands out and you're like, I'm not hugging you, I'm not hugging you. But you're in Ecuador, you're just these kids, they want love. They want to hug you, they want to tell you how much they appreciate you being there. And to me, it was just like, I want to do this. I want to work with people. I love working with people. I think that truly we need to help people grow. We need to provide opportunities, and we need to provide access to care because that's what they need. It's not that people don't love their animals. They do love their animals, but they've never been able to care for them the way that we care for them here in the US. So now with the Amici Cannis, we have that opportunity to give them the ability to care for the animals the way the animals need to be cared for. So without further ado, I'm just going to let Heather and Philip take it away to show you a little bit of what we're doing today. This is one of our community campaigns when we actually go into the community. So to paint the picture, these are very, very poor communities where people don't have vehicles, or buses are few and far between. Taxis are expensive, and they won't let you bring their animal on the taxi. So we need to go to the communities. We bring our team to the communities. We pick up the animals in the community. We put them in kennels, and we bring them back to the clinic where we do the spay neuter. We provide also other services according to what the animals need. And then we return them at the end of the day. The animals that need to stay over for a night or two because maybe they come with other issues affecting their health, they will, and then we return them a couple days later. But so today we went to the community of La Calera as one of the indigenous villages that is closest to the town of Cotacachi. It's very influential. Each indigenous community has its own sort of indigenous leadership, and they not always communicate very well in each village around Cotacachi. So La Calera is one of the biggest villages and most influential with all the others. So we thought that's where we want to start. We want to start working in La Calera so that once we're successful, all the other villages will realize the work that we're doing and then want to work with us. So today we're going to start. We started La Calera, we picked up the animals, and now we're going to see where they are with Heather and Philip. Heather, to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. We're so glad you could be with us. We know most of you, and I'm not going to go through names, so excited that you were able to take the time to be with us. And I know there's a lot already been said and will be said. I don't need to say much. I'd like to say two things. Number one, come see Ecuador. It's a beautiful country. It's a wonderful country. Number two, come see the effects of Amici Cannis that we are able to do with your help. Those are the two things I would encourage. And with that, over to the lady.
Hi, Heather Steyn. Most of you guys know me, but those who don't, I'm the founder and director of Amici Cannis. And today we're going to take you on a tour of our hospital and show you the inside scenes on how we accomplish these massive sterilization campaigns. This is Elsa. She's one of the dogs from the community today, and she's going to receive not just sterilization and vaccination and deworming, but she's got a skin disease and some other problems that we're going to be able to treat for her today. So come with me and let's go through the hospital. This is Dr. Curley, one of our doctors on our team, and she's going to be doing Elsa's exam and getting her ready for her procedure. So you're looking at our reception area where all the kennels are that the dogs come in. Our cats get moved to our second floor after they come in. And down here we do our exams, and we weigh the dogs and we pre-medicate them and evaluate them for any needs that they have. This little dog has mange, so she'll get treated for her mange and she'll get groomed today, as well as being sterilized and vaccinated for care. So we're going to go ahead and pre-medicate her, and we're going to go upstairs with her so we can see the process of the dogs going through the campaign. Okay, Elsa. Okay, come on to our second floor. As we go around this corner, you'll see there's another set of stairs. We actually have 3 floors, and our X-ray is upstairs on the 3rd floor. So this is our treatment area. And one of our lovely volunteers, Marie, and technician Debbie. This is where we prep the dogs for surgery. So this dog's been intubated and is going to be clipped and pre-scrubbed. Each of the dogs and cats that come in have a number that they get tagged with that is tagged to their information. So that's how we keep track of all the dogs. As you can see, most of them are pretty dirty, not in great shape, well loved, but they need a lot of care. So this guy will come into surgery here shortly, and I'm going to show you our surgery suite. Voila. So these are our surgeons today, Dr. Carla and Dr. Carolina, and our technician, Paul. And I think most of you would recognize this as a typical surgical suite from North America. It's really unusual here to find gas anesthesia, anesthetic monitoring, using aseptic technique, really good surgical technique. We pride ourselves on practicing at a North American level, even though we're in South America without all the resources. Our hospital not only does sterilization, but we actually function as a general practice. We do dental procedures, orthopedic repairs, abdominal surgeries, all care that needs to be done for these animals. We even have visiting specialists that come and work with us, a cardiologist, an ophthalmologist, mobile endoscopy. So we try to do the best that we can for the animals here with the limited resources that we have. Let's go to recovery, and we can see where the animals come out of surgery and recover. So this is our recovery ward. Post-sterilization, my baby, they get their nails trimmed, they get groomed, they get vaccinated, they get dewormed. We tattoo to indicate that we have sterilized the females, and they recover here. We're doing our best to keep them warm and do good post-op recovery. And we have a technician and volunteer that will stay with these animals for as long as needed. In addition, we have a separate ward that's for infectious disease and cats, trying to keep the cats calmer. This is our kitty ward. And these we have 19 cats today and 15 dogs today that we're going to sterilize. So here are some of our kitties. And I'd love to show you a special case. This is a cat that fell from a 2nd story and had 2 femoral fractures, and she received an external fixator yesterday, and she's recovering with us before she goes to her home. You guys can't tell, but she's purring and quite happy on her pain medications and doing really well after her surgery. So we do all levels of care here in the hospital. So we're going to go back out to the treatment area. I'm going to sit down and actually take questions from you guys and have a live discussion about the work that we're doing. Okay, now I get to see everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see everybody here. Hi, JC, Dan, Cheryl, thanks for joining us. It's so nice to see you guys. So let's see what questions we have.
Heather, this is Bob Murtaugh. Can you talk a little bit about the students that come down to work with you? So one of our programs is that we've partnered with veterinary schools in the United States, and we have set ourselves up to be an official externship program for the students to come down and actually have surgical training. So Tufts University has a rotation that's part of their curriculum that students come for 2 weeks at a time. And by the time they leave here, they've done 15 to 20 independent surgeries. So it's a really impactful program for the veterinary students. We're also working with Cornell University, Ontario Veterinary College. Hopefully, we're going to be setting something up with Mississippi this year, and we're open to other veterinary school externships.
Heather, can you talk a little bit about the community piece versus the sort of standard shelter approach that you guys?
Absolutely. So as Alex alluded to in our opening, originally I wanted to open a shelter because that's what North Americans do. Like we know shelters. And when we saw the tremendous street dog population problem, we thought the answer was opening a shelter. And we were luckily educated by Alex to say, no, the shelter's not the right thing to do. What we need to do is implement a trap, neuter, release program. So we've been doing trap, neuter, release for all of the, what you guys would call strays. We call them street dogs that are unowned, free roaming animals in our town. And we catch them. They're not feral. They're actually super sweet, really easy to catch. You can just walk up to them and pick them up. We catch them. We bring them in. We sterilize them. We microchip them, deworm them. We vaccinate them. We treat any illness they have. And then we return them to the community with a microchip and a collar as now a community dog. And what's so interesting is those dogs, they're so comfortable in their environment, and our climate supports for them to have a really good quality of life living in town, that they stay within a certain area of town, and the community members in town actually support these dogs. They get fed by the local restaurants and the tiendas and the people that walk the streets. They have water out for them on the street, and they live really good quality of life, not like we would think of a stray dog in the United States. So we've been able to stabilize our street dog population and turn them into community dogs. And we have a stable population of about 200 dogs that we care for. And we treat them as if they were our own pet. We patrol the streets every day. We feed these dogs. We look for any evidence of illness or injury. We pick them up and we bring them into the hospital, and we provide whatever care they need. Since they're microchipped and they're a part of our medical record keeping system, we can keep track of who needs to be vaccinated when and follow up with all of their care. We have community dogs, is what we call them when they're ours, that are 10 years old now, that are original dogs that we started taking care of 10 years ago, and they are so happy. Their body condition scores are good. They actually have a really good life, free roaming in the streets and kind of cared for by the entire community.
Heather, I've got another question in the chat box here. It says, I'm guessing you are a nonprofit. Do you file 990 tax return, and is it available to look at?
Yeah, we are a 501c3 in the United States. When we first started this project, the very first thing we did was file for a 501c3 in the United States so we could effectively raise funds to do the work here in Ecuador, because obviously there's not the money here that's needed. Yes, we do file a 990, and yes, it's part of our annual report, and happy to share with you that information.
Another question, how do you get supplies to Ecuador?
That's our real challenge. We try to buy everything that we need locally here, but we don't have the availability of the medicines and supplies and the anesthesia and the things that we need. So we actually bring everything in suitcases. We can't ship directly to Ecuador. So part of our program with our student exchange is the students actually bring 50-pound bags with them when they come to visit. And we order all of our supplies in the United States and have them sent to the students, and our visitors, our volunteer veterinarians, as well as expats that live here, offer to bring stuff back for us. So we have a continuous stream of supplies coming in suitcases.
We've got another question here too. Other than for the community dogs, have you received much resistance from the pet owners toward your sterilization efforts?
It's been a long haul, I'll be honest. When we first started, especially in the indigenous communities, there's a lack of education, a lack of access to veterinary services. They don't know veterinarians. There was not a lot of trust. And when we first started working, it was pretty hard to convince the owners of the owned animals to allow us to sterilize. But with a tremendous amount of education and our presence here for 10 years, all of the work that we do in the communities, we do vaccine programs, we do deworming programs. We're in front of the people all the time, and we've earned their trust. So now it's actually not that hard for us to get people to sterilize their dogs. This morning, when we went to the Indigenous community, we had over 50 animals lined up, and they're waiting in line out at the community center outside. Their cats are in bags, patiently waiting for us to check them in and gather them and bring them into the hospital. There's a tremendous need, and the people have really started to recognize the benefits of sterilization. We have 24 Indigenous communities in a 10-kilometer radius, and we estimate, and we're doing surveys in each individual community as we sterilize in that community, but we estimate that we probably have about 5,000-6,000 dogs right now that need sterilization. So we're seeking funds to help with the sterilization campaigns. A unique thing about the hospital, I was a business owner and I ran a very successful veterinary hospital in the US. So I've used those skills to have this hospital be able to be self-sustainable. Our operating expenses for the hospital itself are actually covered by veterinary services we provide to paying clients. What we're seeking are funds to do our program work, which is the large-scale sterilization campaigns in the Indigenous communities, to maintain our community dog program with our street dogs, all of our additional program work. But our operating expenses are covered by the revenue that we generate in the hospital for paying clients. And that's our nonprofit model, to try to be self-sustainable, so that we're only going out there seeking funds for the tremendous need for the Indigenous in Ecuador and the people who actually can't afford services.
Next question, Heather. How do you house the students that come to Ecuador?
Yeah, good question. We live in a beautiful little village. It's very safe, high mountain, very quaint village. And we have a lot of condos available in town that we rent and put the students in a really nice condo, and they have their own kitchen, and it's all walking distance to the clinic and all of our cafes and restaurants. So it's a really nice environment for the students, very safe and very close to the clinic.
Do you require sterilization of animals as a condition of treating them?
We actually don't have to require it. We recommend it with every animal that we see, and the owners comply. So if we have an animal that's coming in for a fracture repair, we just tell them we're going to sterilize at the same time, and they're grateful for the service. So it's not something that we actually have to require. It's a service that's actually sought after now.
Great. Can you share your annual budget to administer all the services you provide, and what do you estimate you would require to provide the outreach programs you talked about?
Our operating budget for 2023 is $250,000, and we are seeking, and that's the operating budget for the hospital and all the programs that we're doing. And we're seeking a grant right now of $130,000 to be able to do the large scale sterilization programs in the communities surrounding us. Our annual budget for the community dog program, which is taking care of the street dogs, we spend $50,000 a year providing veterinary services and sterilization services to the street dog population.
Thanks, Heather. We've got one last question here. Who are the paying clients, expats or locals?
Yeah, so we have a large expat population here, and that's who started out being our paying clients. We're expats that had high expectations for veterinary care and didn't have any access to them. So that's been a tremendous benefit for us. But it's really been interesting over the 10 years. 50% of our paying clients are Ecuadorians now. They've actually recognized that our community dogs look healthier and are in better condition than their own pets. And they've come to us seeking veterinary services because they want their own animals to look as good as our community dogs are. So we have a 50% expat, 50% Ecuadorian paying client population.
We've got one last question that's just too good not to pass. If I come to visit Ecuador, can I join your smuggling ER supplies hauling program?
Yes, we call you a mule, and we are happy to receive mules for our program. So anybody who's willing to mule for us, we will use you.
And one other that snuck in at the last minute, also really good. Do the universities that you are working with pay you for these rotations?
No, they do not. The students actually pay for the rotations to cover their supplies and the expenses associated with them coming. And Tufts University right now has a fundraising program that they get scholarships for the students who can't afford it themselves, but the money doesn't come from the university.
Great. I think we've got all the questions.
Sorry, I was answering the airport code. I put it on the chat.
Oh yeah,
It's
fly
Quito.
into Quito to come and see us. We're about an hour and a half north of Quito. It's a beautiful drive with gorgeous volcanoes all the way. And Amici Cannis is a lovely town. It draws tourism from all over the world and locals. We have 3 Ecuadorian young female veterinarians that Philip and I are happily mentoring and working with. We have 5 technical staff that have all been trained by us, and they're absolutely wonderful. We have a hospital manager who I think is my favorite hospital manager of my entire career. He's an MBA and he's fantastic, and a lovely administrator who's been with us for years that manages our front desk.
It's Bob Murtaugh. And on the student side of things, if you guys have schools that your alumni of the veterinarians that are on this, if you wanted to donate to those schools to support those students, that would be another way you could help this program as well.
Yeah, I can connect you directly with the people who are doing the program to make sure that the funds go to scholarships for the students. That would be great. There's so many students that want to come. Tufts is completely booked for their availability, but we definitely have other schools that want to fill in the gaps and send students.
All right, Heather, I am afraid that this is all the time we have for questions. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We really appreciate your time. Like I said before, 2023 has been a year of growth for Amici Cannis. We launched our education program and our preventative care program in indigenous communities around Cotacachi. We have brought access to veterinary care to communities that didn't have this opportunity before, and as a result, demand for all of our services has increased exponentially. Of course, we depend on the kindness and support of individual donors to fund this work. This program, or all of our programs, really cannot be possible without the support of our donors. And if you saw something today or you heard something today that you think you can get behind, we would really like for you to consider making a generous and meaningful financial contribution to Amici Cannis. There are several ways to contribute. We have either online or through donor advised funds, and Jennifer is putting some information on the chat box with how to contact us, either through donations@amicicannis.org. She's also added Heather's email if you want to contact her directly. And my door's always open if you want to have a conversation or a brainstorming session or any questions. Jennifer, feel free to share my email, please, on the chat box as well.
I just want to say thank you guys for attending. It's kind of fun for me to be able to show what we're doing here live. And you don't know what Ecuador looks like, and my tiny little hospital that's super productive. So it's been fun to be able to share that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, everyone. It's lovely to see you.